Welcome back to the official podcast home of the Association for Materials Protection and Performance. I'm Ben Dubose, news editor with the AMP publications team. AMP, of course, is the shorthand acronym for the association. And as far as the publications, we've got 3 distinct brands and outlets. That's Coatings Pro Magazine, Materials Performance Magazine, and Corrosion Journal. All are housed within our publications group. As far as AMP, the big story for us is that we recently wrapped up the 2026 AMP Annual Conference and Expo. Held in late March in Houston, it was a record-setting show with more than 6,300 attendees and over 350 exhibitors, including 72 exhibitors that were brand new and also 13 new sponsors. Houston is home to one of AMP's global headquarters, so we were absolutely thrilled to be able to welcome so many people to our backyard. And then as far as AMP publications, one of the brand new offerings for us at this year's conference was our AMP Media Studio. It was basically a recording studio inside the larger AMP booth at the exhibit hall. And so what we did there, we brought in and interviewed a handful of leaders within both the association as well as the broader industries and markets that we serve. Topics of discussion included highlights of the show, industry trends, feedback from the market, as well as a few random things that are unique to each person's background. So throughout the spring, what we're doing here on this channel is playing back those one-on-one exclusive interviews that we taped from the show. We may also use some of those quotes in future articles within our print publications or on the websites, so please stay tuned for that. But the first step is publishing the interviews and letting you all take a listen, and so that's what we're doing right now. Let's roll the tape.
Hi, I'm Sammy Miles with AMP Media. I'm here today at the AMP Annual Conference and Expo 2026 with Rachelle Rigby. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me, Sammy.
And can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
So, Sammy, I entered the corrosion space in 2014 and studied to be a coating inspector in Houston and took our learnings over to Australia. We now own a durability consulting company, my husband and I, and we operate all over Australia.
Wonderful. And how's your show been going this week?
It has been amazing. I've thoroughly been enjoying the show floor. It's amazing. And I am very focused on our Women of AMP program at AMP, networking with a lot of the women and the younger women that are coming through and organizing some of those events. It's been really amazing.
Can you tell me about some of the events that you've had this week for Women of AMP?
So yesterday morning, we had the Women of AMP panel breakfast. So in the morning, we had a breakfast networking for about an hour. And then I had 4 incredible panelists join me on stage from different industries that affect the corrosion space. We had people from aerospace, we had people from oil and gas, and we had somebody from shipbuilding as well. So, and they were talking to the women about their careers and what they've been through and how they got to where they are. And a lot of these women have incredible experiences. So it's amazing to listen to their stories.
Great. And I know we have a couple more events today. Can you tell me a little bit about the Mentor Connect?
Yes. So we came up with the concept for the speed mentoring last year, and it was super successful. We had 14 mentees and 14 mentors last year. We have about 15 or 16 mentees and mentors this year. At 1:30 today, we are meeting near the student poster area, and these women will have an opportunity to meet a mentor, and they get 5-minute blocks with each one where they get to, learn a little bit about them, how they got to their job. I know one of the mentors is going to be talking about how best to interview or what people look for in interviews in our space. So there's so much to learn from these women that have been through this and paved the way for the next generation. So the next generation's got a lot to listen to, which is amazing.
I think that's great. And I think between the networking breakfast and the speed mentoring, you have that ability to build connections and then people you can reach out to later if you have questions down the road in your career.
Absolutely. And the good thing with the speed mentoring as well, a lot of these women are open to taking mentees on later on. So at the end of the mentoring, we offer them 10 minutes to go back to their favorite mentor that they've met during the speed networking. And then they get to, open up a bit more dialogue and see if that's somebody they'd like to connect with. And it's also great for them to see other facets of our industry that they may not have considered. So, it may be working in the sales department, or it may be wanting to be a coating inspector. I know I didn't grow up thinking I was going to be a coating inspector. And it's opened my eyes to an amazing path. And it took somebody encouraging me to actually come through and do that.
I know we have one more session in our Women of AMP program at AMP 2026. Can you tell me a little bit about that one?
So we are also running a global program. So if somebody wants to run events for Women of AMP in their region, we are encouraging people to come forward and talk to us about wanting to run these programs. One key thing is that we want them to actually go out and do something. We've seen a lot of work coming out from a wonderful woman in Canada, Ashley Caria, who has been spearheading the Canada Women of AMP. We've been seeing a lot come out of Australia as well. So we are looking for those women that are willing to take the program on and run minor events throughout the year. The other thing that has been brought up throughout this year is also running some online webinars, because there may not be too many women in specific regions around the world that people can connect with. So online webinars, online coffee chats. So that's all the stuff we'll be discussing today, so that people can, spearhead different programs to encourage the Women of AMP program to grow.
Fantastic. Is there anything else you'd like to share about Women of AMP or the conference in general?
Well, one thing I've learned, and it's something that's been playing on my mind for the past 24 hours, was particularly around the women's space, make sure that you ask questions. Make sure that you say yes to opportunity, which is something a lot of people, are nervous to do. And so the message that came out yesterday is get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And I really love that tagline that came out yesterday, because as women, we do really need to, push ourselves forward and encourage more growth. But also, if you have the opportunity to mentor somebody or encourage them to step forward and do something like people have done for me through my AMP journey, I really encourage you to take that person on and encourage them through.
I think that's great advice, especially I've heard from women where it's, I don't think I'm qualified for that. And that self-doubt. And it's just, to your point, be comfortable with being uncomfortable. Take that leap, take that chance, and really push yourself. And you can get out there and you can do a lot more than you think that you originally thought you could.
Absolutely. I really owe a lot to one of our really strong women of AMP, Joyce Wright, who a couple of years ago came and connected with me. I was asked to be a chair of one of the technical groups at the time, and I had never thought that I was good enough to be a vice chair. And I'm so honored that they approached me and asked me to do that. And I'm grateful for that opportunity, because it's intertwined me more with AMP and it's allowed me to grow in my space and open my door to opportunities that I never ever thought I would be able to have. So absolutely. But it also took a really amazing mentor to grab my hand and push me through that door.
And now you're doing it for the next generation.
Absolutely. We love it.
Well, thank you for joining me and have a great rest of the show.
Thank you so much, Sammy. Thanks for having me.
All right, that will do it for this interview from the 2026 AMP Annual Conference and Expo. But please stay tuned throughout the spring, because we've got quite a few of these that are debuting on our AMP and Coatings Pro Magazine podcast channels. We've already posted quite a few as well, so check out the archives if you haven't been listening over the past few weeks. Our hope is that the information and insights from these conversations will ultimately benefit our readers, association members, and the industry as a whole. And beyond the podcast channels, don't forget to check out our print publications, our social media pages, and our websites for Coatings Pro Magazine, Materials Performance Magazine, and Corrosion Journal. All of those brands are housed within our AMP Publications family, and we'll have lots of great exclusive content from the show coming out in the days and weeks ahead. Just stick with us and we'll have more to come. Anyway, that will do it for today. On behalf of our entire editorial team, I'm Ben Dubose, news editor for the AMP Publications Group. We appreciate you so much for checking out this interview, and please come back soon for more exclusive coverage of the 2026 AMP Annual Conference and Expo.